Hi students, in the worksheet given to you, you may find difficulties in solving some numericals. I will give the solutions for those questions. You take the questions and solutions one by one. So, this is the question given to you, that is question number 7 of your worksheet, that is in thermal decomposition of C2H5Br ethyl bromide to give C2H4 ethene and HBr gas. All these are gases. Initially the pressure was found to be 200 millimeter of mercury, and at the end of the reaction it was given as 390 millimeter of mercury. Then what fraction remain unchanged, means what fraction of ethyl bromide remain unchanged when the pressure of the mixer is equal to 300 millimeter of mercury. That is the question given to you. At a time t equal to 0, 200 millimeter of mercury pressure, if it is only because of ethyl bromide, that I am assuming. At a t equal to 0, only if ethyl bromide is present, its pressure equal to 200 millimeter of mercury, there is no ethylene formed and hydrogen bromide formed. So, 0 and 0 are the pressures of ethene and hydrogen bromide. But at the end of the reaction, if time t is equal to infinity, there must not be any ethyl bromide. So, its pressure must be equal to 0. Whatever may be the number of moles of ethyl bromide dissociated, same number of moles of ethene and HBr are formed. So, drop in pressure of ethyl bromide is equal to pressure developed due to the formation of ethene and HBr. Drop in pressure of ethyl bromide is 200. So, pressure of ethene developed as well as HBr developed must be equal to 200 millimeters of mercury each. So, what should be the total pressure now? So, at the beginning, if in your reaction flask only ethyl bromide is present, at the end of the reaction the total pressure developed must be equal to 400 millimeter of mercury. Is it correct or not? Yes. But in the question it was given as at the end of the reaction total pressure equal to only 390 millimeters of mercury. What does it mean? We have to say that at the beginning, at a time t equal to 0, in addition to ethyl bromide, there must be some other gas. That gas is not at all reacting with either ethyl bromide or ethene or HBr. Let it be some inert gas. So, at the beginning of the reaction, some amount of ethyl bromide and some amount of unreacting gas, that is an inert gas, is also present. Let the pressure of inert gas is some P dash. I am assuming this as P dash. So, what is the pressure of ethyl bromide alone now? 200 minus P dash is the pressure due to ethyl bromide. So, ethyl bromide pressure is actually 200 minus P dash, because P dash is the pressure of some inert gas. Now, pressure of ethene must be equal to ethyl bromide pressure is equal to 0 at infinity. So, ethene formed is 200 minus P dash and HBr formed is also 200 minus P dash. So, what is the total pressure at infinity? At t equal to infinity, total pressure is equal to 200 minus P dash is the pressure of ethene plus 200 minus P dash is the pressure of HBr developed. Tell me, only this is the pressure at the end of the reaction, or is there any some other pressure also? 200 minus P dash is the pressure of ethyl bromide at time t equal to 0. all this ethyl bromide number of molecules disappeared at infinity time. So, number of moles of ethene formed as well as HBr formed is equal to number of moles of ethyl bromide dissociated. So, pressure developed is equal to drop in pressure of ethyl bromide. Drop in pressure of ethyl bromide is 200 minus P dash. So, that is same as ethene pressure and HBr pressure. But in addition to this, unreacting gas is present throughout the course of the reaction. At a time T equal to 0, P dash is the pressure of inert gas. Even at a time T equal to infinity also, that inert gas is present, its pressure is P dash. So, total pressure is equal to this value plus P dash is the pressure of inert gas. So, what it is? Minus P dash plus P dash will be cancelled, 400 minus P dash. This 400 minus P dash is given as how much? At time T equal to infinity, pressure given is 390 millimeters of mercury. Therefore, P dash equal to 10 millimeters. If P dash is equal to 10 millimeters, what is the initial pressure of ethyl bromide alone? That is 190 millimeters. Therefore, ethyl bromide pressure is 190 millimeters at a time T equal to 0. Ethene pressure is equal to 0, HBr pressure equal to 0. At a time T equal to infinity, pressure of ethyl bromide is 0, it is 190, this is also 190, plus pressure of inert gas is 10. So, 190 plus 190, 380 plus 10 millimeters of mercury is the pressure of inert gas. So, total pressure is equal to 390 millimeters, that is valid here. So, but what is the question given to you? What fraction remain unchanged when the pressure of mixture is equal to 300 millimeters of mercury? So, total pressure must be equal to 300 after dissociation of some amount of ethyl bromide. Out of 190 millimeters of mercury, if there is some X is the drop in pressure, in order to get the total pressure is equal to 300 millimeters. So, initially 190, 0 and 0, 190 minus X, this is X and it is X. Now, total pressure is equal to 300 millimeters of mercury. Therefore, 190 minus X plus X plus X plus 10 millimeter of mercury is the pressure of inert gas, that is remained same throughout the course of the reaction, is given as 300 millimeters of mercury. So, 190 plus 10, 200 plus X equal to 300, X equal to how much? 100. Means the drop in pressure of ethyl bromide is equal to 100, but the question given to you is how much fraction is remained unchanged. So, out of 190 millimeters of mercury, 100 millimeter of mercury is a drop in pressure of ethyl bromide. So, fraction remained is equal to, or pressure remained is equal to 190 minus 100 equal to 90. Then how much fraction is remained? Fraction remained is equal to (90 upon 190). It is approximately equal to 0.47. So, you see the solution again. Initially, if only ethyl bromide is present, the total pressure to be developed at the end of the reaction must be equal to 400 millimeter of mercury. But the total pressure given to you is 390 millimeter of mercury, means there may be some amount of inert gas in addition to ethyl bromide at the beginning of the reaction. I am assuming its pressure is some P dash, means out of 200 millimeters of mercury, P dash is the pressure of inert gas. Therefore, the pressure of ethyl bromide alone is 200 minus P dash. So, at a time T equal to 0, 200 minus P dash is the pressure of ethyl bromide. At a time t equal to infinity, this is at t equal to 0 and this is at t equal to infinity. At time t equal to infinity, there is no ethyl bromide left to you. So, pressure is equal to 0. Drop in pressure of ethyl bromide is same as the pressure developed due to ethene and HBr formed. So, it is 200 minus P dash and 200 minus P dash. Therefore, the total pressure at infinity time is equal to sum of these two plus pressure of inert gas that was considered as P dash. So, this total pressure is 400 minus P dash, that is given as 390. From that, pressure due to inert gas is calculated as 10 millimeter of mercury. Now, pressure due to ethyl bromide alone is 190. At time t equal to 0, ethyl bromide pressure is 190, ethene and HBr pressures are 0. At infinity time, no ethyl bromide left, 190, 190 plus 10 millimeters is the inert gas pressure, total 390, that is given as 390 only. Now, the question given to is how much fraction of ethyl bromide remained unchanged when the total pressure of the mixture is equal to 300 millimeters of mercury. Means out of 190 millimeters of mercury, some pressure is dropped due to dissociation of ethyl bromide. So, that is considered as some x. X is the drop in pressure due to dissociation of ethyl bromide. So, 190 minus x is the pressure remained. X and x are the pressure developed due to HBr and ethene. So, total pressure is equal to sum of these plus inert gas pressure, that is equal to 300 given. From that, pressure drop is calculated as 100. Therefore, pressure remained is equal to 190 minus 100 equal to 90 millimeter of mercury. Fraction remained is equal to 90 divided by 190, because out of 190 millimeters of mercury, 90 millimeters is the pressure remained. So, 90 divided by 190 is the fraction, that is approximately equal to 0.47, right. So, this is the next question given to you, that is the inversion of cane sugar proceeds with constant half life of 500 minute for any concentration of sugar at pH is equal to 5. That was also mentioned. For any concentration of sugar, T half is found to be 500 minute at pH equal to 5. However, if pH equal to 6, the half life period is changed to 50 minute, then derive the rate law. So, in order to solve this, you have to know the relationship of half life period of nth order reaction. T half of any nth order reaction is proportional to 1 by a power n minus 1 that we discussed. If the reaction is first order, n is equal to 1. So, 1 by a power 0, that is 1, T half is independent of A, that is half life period of a first order reaction is independent of initial concentration of reactant. That information is given in the first statement, that is inversion of cane sugar proceeds with a constant half life of 500 minute for whatever may be the concentration of sugar, that was the information given. So, concentration of sugar, if it is increased or decreased, half life period remains constant, that is 500 minute. Means with respect to sugar, what is the order of reaction? As the T half of the reaction is independent of concentration of sugar, we have to say that with respect to sugar, the order of reaction is equal to 1. So, order with respect to sugar equal to 1. And another information given to is, if pH is changed from 5 to 6, T half is changed from 500 minute to 50 minute. So, pH is equal to 5 means what? concentration of H plus is equal to 10 power minus 5. If concentration of H plus is equal to 10 power minus 5, corresponding half-life period of the reaction is given as 500 minutes. If concentration of H plus is equal to 10 power minus 6, pH equal to 6 means H plus ion concentration 10 power minus 6, then T half was found to be 50 minutes. Then can you find out the order with respect to H plus ion also or not? Use this relation, T half 1 divided by T half 2 is equal to A2 by A1 whole to the power of n minus 1. T half proportional to 1 by A power n minus 1 means T half of 1 by T half of 2 equal to A2 by A1 whole to the power of n minus 1. Here A2 must be taken as concentration of H plus ion at pH is equal to 6, that is 10 power minus 6 divided by 10 power minus 5 whole to the power of n minus 1. This is given as, in first experiment half-life period is 500, second experiment it is 50, equal to 10 power minus 1 whole to the power of n minus 1. This is 10, 10 equal to 10 to the power of 1 minus n, from this n must be equal to 0. So, here changes we are considered with respect to H plus ion concentration. So, order with respect to H plus ion we are calculated, that is 0. So, what is the rate law now? Rate is equal to K into concentration of sugar. With respect to sugar, order is equal to 1, and concentration of H plus with respect to H plus ion, order is calculated as 0. So, total order of reaction is equal to 1, and that is the rate equation or rate law. Clear? So, this is the question given to you. Actually, this question was given in 2019 JEE mains. This is energy profile diagram for the reaction A plus B gives rise to C plus D. Here products are C and D. You have to identify which is kinetically stable product from that graph, and for the formation of C and D separately you have to find out the activation enthalpies. That is the question given. Tell me which is kinetically stable product, means whether it is C or D. How can you predict which is kinetically stable one? The product which is formed with a higher rate of reaction, or in other words the product with low activation energy. During the formation of the product, if activation energy is less, we can say that rate of formation of the product is more. A stable product will be proceeded with a higher rate. Here which product is more stable means towards the formation of which product the activation energy is less, either towards the formation of C or towards the formation of D, in which case activation energy is less, that you identify first. For formation of C from reactants A and B, so this is average energy of reactants A and B. This is energy of activated complex. The difference between these two is energy of activation for the formation of C. That is how much? For formation of C, energy of activation is 20 minus 5 equal to 15 kilojoule per mole. Then what about towards the formation of D? Average energy of reactants and energy of activated complex, this difference so this is energy of activation towards the formation of D, this is energy of activation towards the formation of C, it is 15 and it is 15 minus 5 equal to 10. So, towards formation of D, activation enthalpy equal to 10 kilojoule per mole, which is less than activation enthalpy towards the formation of C, that is equal to 15 kilojoule per mole. So, in between C and D, which is kinetically more stable? Obviously, it is D, that is proceeded with less activation energy. Hence, answer for the first question is D. Then what about the next one? Find the activation enthalpy in formation of C and D, that we are already discussed, that is towards the formation of C, activation enthalpy is 15 kilojoule per mole, 20 minus 5. Towards the formation of D, it is 15 minus 5 equal to 10 kilojoule per mole. That is it. This is one more question given in 2019 JEE mains paper only, that is a bacterial infection in an internal wound grows as n dash t equal to n naught into e power t. So, n naught is initial number of bacteria and n dash is the number of bacteria in time t. A dose of antibiotic taken orally means a tablet is taken by the patient and that time taken to reach the tablet to wound is 1 hour. Then once it reaches there, the bacterial population goes down as dn by dt equal to minus 5n square. If there is no antibiotic taken, there may be large growth of population of bacteria, but due to the antibiotic taken by the patient, there is somewhat decrease in the growth of bacteria, and that growth of bacteria now taken the equation as dn by dt is equal to minus 5n square. Then what you have to solve from this question? Plot the graph of n naught by n versus t after 1 hour. You have to plot the graph after 1 hour, means after reaching the antibiotic to the wound, you have to plot the graph. That is the question given. You see the solution. N dash t is equal to n naught into E t. That is, in time t, number of bacteria is equal to initial number of bacteria n naught into e power t, and t is given as 1 hour, because that is the time required to reach the antibiotic to wound, that is 1 hour. So, n dash at 1 hour t, at 1 hour time, n naught into e power 1, n naught into e. Now, this n naught into e is the number of bacteria at a time t is equal to 1 hour. From this 1 hour time to some time t, if you are observing the population growth of bacteria, so we have to go for the equation dn by dt is equal to minus 5n square or minus dn by n square is equal to 5 into dt. We are observing the population change, population of bacteria change from time t is equal to 1 hour to a time t. So, from 1 hour time to t time, if you want to find out the changes in bacteria, you have to integrate this 5 into integral dt under the limits t equal to 1 hour to a time t. So, this is under the integral dn by n square with corresponding limits. At time t equal to 1 hour, what is the number of bacteria? At time t equal to 1 hour, bacteria is n naught into E. Now, the limits are n naught E to n. This is the number of bacteria at time t. So, the same equation can be written as limits can be exchanged by taking positive n to n naught e dn by n square is equal to 5 into integral dt under the limits t equal to 1 or to a time t. Now, you can do the integration. This is minus 1 by n under the limits n to n naught e equal to 5 into t minus 1. Integral dt is equal to t by applying limits t minus 1. This is minus 1 by n naught e plus 1 by n equal to 5 into t minus 1. But you have to plot the graph of n naught by n versus t. So, you have to get the equation in terms of n naught by n and t. So, in order to get this n naught by n, multiply this entire equation by n naught. So, this is n naught by n naught cancelled, minus 1 by e plus n naught by n is equal to 5 n naught into t minus 1. Therefore, n naught by n equal to 5 n naught t minus 5 n naught plus 1 by e or n naught by n equal to 5 n naught t plus 1 by e minus 5 n naught. This is the equation we got. So, if you compare this equation with y is equal to m into x plus c, because n naught by n versus t graph. So, n naught by n must be taken on y axis. So, value of y is n naught by n. On x axis time. So, in place of x time is there, what is the slope now? Slope is equal to 5 n naught and this is intercept on y axis. As this equation is following y is equal to mx plus c and y equal to mx plus c is the equation of straight line. So, the graph plotted must be of this shape and slope of this line is equal to 5 n naught and this is intercept on y axis 1 by e minus 5 n naught. So, this question was given in 2019 JEE mains. Go through the solution again. At the beginning n dash t equal to n naught into e power t is the population growth of bacteria up to time t equal to 1 hour. So, that is the time required to reach the antibiotic to the wound. But if once antibiotic reaches the wound, the population growth goes down as the dn by dt equal to minus 5 n square. So, from that you are derived the equation, but the limits are now from time t equal to 1 hour, means after reaching the tablet or after reaching the antibiotic to the wound, the equation is this dn by dt equal to minus 5 n square. So, initial time must be taken as 1 hour up to a time t. So, at 1 hour time the population of bacteria is n naught into e, that is derived from this equation, and at final time t number of bacteria is n. So, on integration we got this equation. This is the question given in 2017 JEE Advanced Paper 2. It is completely related to collision theory and Arrhenius rate equation. There is no numerical to solve, purely conceptual question it is. If you know the collision theory perfectly or Arrhenius equation meaning perfectly, then you are able to answer this question. So, for answering this, you have to go for equation of rate derived from collision theory of reaction rates. That is, rate of reaction is equal to steric factor or probability factor P into ZAB into e power minus Ca by RT, that we are derived in collision theory of reaction rates. In this, you have to know each and every term meaning. EA is activation energy at a given temperature T, and even temperature is changed, the change in value of activation energy is insignificant. This e power minus Ca by RT is the fraction of molecules with energies equal to or greater than activation energy, and ZAB is the collision frequency, P is the steric factor or probability factor. Means out of the total number of collisions ZAB, a very small fraction of molecules will possess energies equal to or greater than activation enthalpy. Those collisions only are effective collisions, that number is very, very less. Even the molecules with activation energy are also involved in collisions, they may not be effective if they are not properly oriented. In order to count the proper orientation, another factor was introduced, that is steric factor P. As it is probability factor mentioned, the probability range must be in between 0 and 1. So, always probability value must be equal to 0 to 1. ZAB is the total number of collisions, e power minus Ca by RT is the fraction of molecules with energies equal to or greater than activation energy. Then we will get the rate of reaction. That is theoretical approach. This equation is valid in so many cases, but in some reactions it may not be valid. The reason is also mentioned to you, because the calculation of ZAB or in the derivation of equation of collision frequency ZAB, there are some errors, because by assuming molecules as hard spheres without considering any vibrational and rotational motion of gas molecules, collision frequency ZAB was derived. So, there is a discrepancy in derivation of equation for ZAB, hence the same discrepancy is continued even in the derivation of equation for rate, that is P into ZAB into e power minus Ca by RT. So, in some reactions experimental value of rate of reaction may be different from theoretically calculated value, or in other words we can say that experimentally determined value of steric factor may be different from theoretically predicted value of P. Actually theoretically the value of P must be in between 0 and 1, but in some reactions it may be greater than 1 also. That kind of example is given to you. Steric factor P is greater than 1 means whatever the value of rate of reaction experimentally calculated definitely must be greater than the value which was predicted based on this equation or based on Arrhenius equation also. From this equation only Arrhenius equation can be written as K is equal to A into e power minus Ca by RT. So, higher the value of rate constant, we can say that rate of reaction is also high. As the steric factor P is greater than 1, no doubt experimentally determined value of rate of reaction is greater than the expected rate of reaction from this equation. As the experimentally determined rate of reaction is greater than theoretical value, experimentally determined value of A must be greater than the value predicted by Arrhenius. So, what are the options given to you verify? First option given is activation enthalpy is unaffected by steric factor. Is it true or not? This Steric factor no way related to activation enthalpy. Activation enthalpies can be predicted from Maxwell-Boltzmann's distribution curves. The fraction of molecules with higher velocities is very less. Therefore, the fraction of molecules with activation energy is also less. That is predicted actually from Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution curves, not from steric factor. So, first option no doubt is correct. Then second option, experimentally determined value of frequency factor is higher than that predicted by Arrhenius. Yes, it is. Frequency factor means that is A. Experimentally determined rate of reaction no doubt will be greater than that predicted based on the equation, because as compared to theoretical value of P, experimentally determined value of P is greater. Theoretically determined value of P must be in between 0 and 1, but it is given greater than 1, means experimentally determined rate is more. From that we can say that experimentally determined value of Arrhenius factor, frequency factor definitely will be higher than that predicted by Arrhenius equation. So, option B is also correct. Experimentally determined value of frequency factor is higher than that predicted by Arrhenius. If it is true, obviously C is its reverse statement, that is wrong. And option D, since P equal to 4.5, the reaction will not proceed unless an effective catalyst is used. No. So, whatever may be the value of steric factor, the reaction is with higher rate it is going on. So, no need of catalyst, and moreover catalyst is not related to the steric factor P. So, correct options are A and B alone. So, these are the solutions given for your worksheet. Question number 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Go through the solutions again and get the clarity.